Welcome to NFT Rebels, the podcast where technology, creativity, education, and non-fungible experiences meet each other. It's me, Annie Alexander, and in each episode, me and the Rebels will have a real unscripted talk, share genuine opinions, and show raw emotions. Should we start? Hello everyone, and welcome to the NFT Rebels. It's me, Annie Alexander, and today I have a very exciting guest. I'm talking to Irina. Irina is the head of Metaverse growth, which I think is a very intriguing title and very kind of modern. So I guess we can start by Irina, you introducing yourself and telling what does it mean and what do you do, and we can just free flow from there.
Hi, Annie. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I really came up with the title because I work at Unique Network, and because we're a unique and creative company, we were kind of free to choose, what title we want for our job. So in principle, I do business development and onboard projects that build NFT. So startups, I'm responsible mainly for the art program, art vertical. We have two, art and gaming. But the metaverse for me, why it is so meaningful, because metaverse comes from science fiction. It's believed to be the next stage of the internet. It believes to a lot of people who are building the space believe that this Web3 will come into the metaverse, where we can finally combine virtual experiences, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, all this glasses technology, and combine art, gaming, and live conferences. And this is already happening in projects like Decentraland. Some companies began having their work gatherings or fashion shows. And of course, considering the current pandemic situation in the world, when we were restricted to travel, when a lot of us discovered many fascinating things on the internet, and when really NFT, DeFi, and new digital economy boomed since last summer, there are so many opportunities that emerged, and it's just very, very exciting. And we are at the very, very beginning. So I'm here to build the new internet, basically.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. It's exciting times, and I think it's very kind of, unique to be in that position when everything is just starting, because, I always really prefer, to be there in the very beginning, to observe and participate in the stage where, things start kind of, emerging out of before they didn't exist, and then you're there and you see it being born. I think it's very exciting. So tell us more about what does the Unique Network do? So what are you building, or you're providing a platform for other startups to build on top of it?
Yes, so we are the middleware, speaking in technical terms. We are an NFT chain for Kusama and Polkadot. We're the first NFT chain developed in Polkadot ecosystem. So we aim at developing two verticals, the art and the gaming. So we are onboarding projects, but we're not limited to that, because actually our mission is tokenize everything, tokenize all kind of digital assets, create NFTs for all types of digital assets. That includes real estate, that includes jewelry, music, fashion. So we began at this point already working with several fashion brands, digital fashion brands. And it's really kind of a discovery journey for us as well, because you can have in mind a plan of working with crypto artists, but then a fashion designer comes up with a collection. And then I actually posted this question on Twitter a couple of days ago, but what is art? So what do we consider art? Can we only be limited to paintings? I believe that not. There is literature, there is art of many things, even art of cooking. So there's actually a startup who reached out to me. They're tokenizing recipes. So
wow. Okay.
yeah, that's the reason why it's such an exciting space. And considering that we work on Polkadot technology, we're very scalable and interoperable. So we are still on the testnet, and the journey of the company began during the Hakusama Hackathon in summer 2020, when the team created a Substrapank collection for the hackathon, a replica of CryptoPunks, which had success. And then the Substrapanks were airdropped to the community. And everybody loved it, and everybody began trading them. So the team had to create a marketplace to have a safe environment for trading, considering testnet is kind of unstable. So then in May 2021, we did another airdrop of Cello bricks during Polkadot Decoded for everybody who attended Polkadot event. And then the community tripled or even more. It grew exponentially in size on Telegram overnight. And really what we're discovering now is the collectibles, but the vision is to kind of bring these collectibles into gaming, gamify things, use advanced features. Like one of our partners is Canaria project, a very well-known project in the Polkadot ecosystem. They've created NFT relationships when now NFTs can fall in love, have like child parent relations. So you can send different emojis. And this is just the beginning, really. There is so much more because of the substrate, because of the new framework, and because of what the new tech allows you to do. Apart from the gas fees, because gas fees is another kind of sensible topic in the industry, right? And that was from, I don't know, something like $10 to $70 you had to pay for a transaction for minting your NFT. So with Polkadot, gas fees by default are low, almost like a card payment fees, but Unique Network is sponsoring transactions. So we are actually allowing startups 1 year of freemium. That is especially valuable for gaming. So you as a startup creator, as a project creator, can onboard as many users as you want. You can allow people to try your platform, to try your solution, to try your marketplace or gallery. And actually, what we want is to enable even not crypto savvy audience to join this NFT revolution, right? So create like you have YouTube for creators or Instagram and all these platforms that allow people to enter creative economy and to monetize their talent. But then there was no security in payments. Now, with NFTs, with middleware like Unique, you can actually create your own marketplace and monetize your talent, but now in a more secure way because of the advantages.
Yeah, I think it's very important. What you're saying is like, for onboarding non-crypto people who didn't have like previous experience with cryptocurrencies and are kind of starting from scratch, kind of, finding out things and understanding how the technology works, how wallets work, and kind of, are going through this steep learning curve of figuring things out. I think for mass adoption, it's very important to make sure that the onboarding is relatively easy and kind of intuitive and does not really have the barriers that some of the platforms at the moment still do have. Gas fees too are very important because we've seen how crazy it can get, especially during the times when the market gets really active and the time sensitivity is an issue and people are willing to pay crazy amounts just to get in there. I think you mentioned collectibles. Gas fees also sometimes skyrocket when there is a very popular collectible that is being out there and people are just trying to mint it as fast as possible to just get the possibility to get the collectible itself. So maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can talk about slightly touch that subject between, since you're curating and kind of, are responsible for the art vertical. What I've discovered by talking to many, crypto artists, collectibles and crypto art, the way it's perceived, it feels like in my mind, they are two different things. There isn't too much overlap. To me, like, the audiences are different, the motivations are different, kind of the way we interact with those NFTs are different. But sometimes many people compare those as if it's the same. And some talented artists feel a bit insulted that, the collectible art value, or the way they look, it's not really of such a good quality, but it's valued, or the price point is so much higher. What would you say about that?
Like, what my recent discovery is that collectibles are very much linked to the gaming. And if you look at Pokemon cards, or any figures from, I don't know, Dragon Ball, what else is out there, Fortnite, like all these universes exist of fans collecting cards, and they're manga artists, there are other types of artists that are into cartoons, into digital images, or into creating personas, creating the story behind it. But not many of this type of animation can be called art. We can call Miyazaki, who is one of the world-renowned animators, an artist, because his cartoons of Totoro are impactful. They have artistic element to it. They have artistic value in it. But if you look at other Fortnite collectibles, that has monetary value, that has economic value. And we haven't seen that much of the art in the blockchain space yet, because what I would consider art is Plantoid, built back in, was it 2017 on Bitcoin blockchain, because it had a philosophy behind. It's about reproduction and it's about beauty. The more Bitcoin you transfer to the Plantoid, the more beautiful it shapes itself. Or projects, what Robert Alice was doing, same with discs, using the logics and the ideology of blockchain to create art around it. Because art, in my opinion, it has to have philosophy, impact, and beauty. So several elements combined, and it has to be something that we will want to see years, after the boom of the market, right? In 100 years, it has to be something as impactful as Michelangelo's art, as, I don't know, Mona Lisa, right? Something that we as society value, something that is worth traveling miles to another country to see and queue in the line to enter a museum. But the same should apply for NFT and digital art space. And the future is just kind of either a combination, so this kind of hybrid space between physical museum and a digital museum, or purely digital exposition. But people need to want to go there to get inspired, to have emotions, to learn something. What happens with collectibles, it's like a game. You're playing with money because you collect something rare, so you can exchange it, you can make profit. And I'm sure that soon we'll see these two kind of splitting into different directions. So the collectibles, they will more go to the gaming side of things. And already I've seen somebody actually created bodies for Substrate punks. So they're heads. So if you look at Substrate punk collection, they're only heads of punks. And then somebody is working on a game and making a 3D figures and inventing a game based on that. So you see, like this is taking the road into gaming, and then maybe some company like Sandbox will want to adopt it. But art would be something different, because collecting figures is nice, like Pokemons, but it's more of a child game, and it's kind of like, but it's a great discovery or rediscovery, because I really remembered my childhood. Like, we were collecting these Pokemon cards and exchanging them and playing, and they were like, I don't know, in there, even Kinder Surprise X with because the toys used to be really kind of hand painted, and all that is really like your inner child is really satisfied with this kind of collections, and it's a great way to go back into game. But calling majority of collectibles art, I wouldn't go this far unless I missed some really artistic expressions. If somebody who's watching us want to share it.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you because I do agree that the gap is going to get broader with the time, and yeah, probably collectibles will be more used for gaming and or trading, flipping, and it will have a different kind of vibe around it. Although it feels like some of the collectible NFTs also play a role of a social token and kind of membership into a community type of thing, which kind of adds an additional emotional layer to it as a utility, which is kind of pretty cool as well. But again, it's not like the artistic part and the look and of the actual character is not a priority in most of the collectibles. So I totally agree with you. I don't know, would you like to dive into what we have as a title for today's conversation is sustainable metaverse. So what do you mean by the sustainability part of it? I mean, what is the angle that you're looking for from that perspective?
So we recently launched an initiative called Digital Art for Climate in partnership with International Association for Climate Action and UN Habitat. And the reason behind it was that our partners were looking for a solution that was environmentally friendly, because there were so many conversations around Bitcoin blockchain or Ethereum blockchain being high energy consuming, bad for the environment. And one of the artists who was actually saving electricity in his studio for 2 years, cutting all the waste, trying to be as sustainable as possible, minted an NFT and discovered that he actually spent all these 2 years of energy in that one single NFT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. So his disappointment was really, really, really big, because he made so much effort over years to eliminate waste, to eliminate energy consumption in his studio. And then with one NFT,
oops. Yeah.
Oops. Exactly that. So our partners were looking for proof of stake blockchain that is sustainable and environmentally friendly. And we actually joined Clean NFT movement. It's an, let's call it an organization of different projects, of different blockchains that are looking for ways to optimize technology. So if they're not a pure proof of stake, it's layer 2 on Ethereum that is more environmentally friendly. And this is a community that is looking for better ways, more sustainable ways of creating NFT art. Because another reason for NFTs being criticized was that with all the collectibles and all the emerging things and accessibility to the space, there were so many NFTs minted, like just the amount of things minted, everything was minted as NFT. Any JPEG became an NFT. So everything was traded, which is a great experimentation. But then if we look at the energy consumption of all that at a waste, at the fact that people lost conscious of what they're doing. They could mint, so they did it. So our mission with Digital Art for Climate is has 3 purposes. So first one, to create awareness around climate change and allow people to take action on climate. Second is to give access to younger talents to participate in the art movement, because a lot of young people who live in developing countries, who live in even cities that don't have galleries and institutions, and there are a lot of young talents who don't have access to education like art school, but they still have the talent and they still have the will to express themselves. So we partnered with UN Habitat to give access to people in Kenya, in India, elsewhere in the world, to submit their artwork and to showcase it on Digital Art for Climate marketplace, and obviously sell it and monetize their art. But we have an art competition where we have a curator and art director who is monitoring what is submitted as the art. There is a panel of judges, so there will be some kind of curatorship and decisions taken on what artworks will be actually factually minted.
Okay, I see. So not everything will be minted, only the ones that will be chosen. Okay, I see.
Yeah. But we want to see it is open for everybody because, of course, we want to be as open as possible to allow everybody to submit art. Because if you put too many limitations, then you're risking to lose the talent. You're risking to miss that person who could be the next Picasso of our times.
Yeah, the talent and the diversity of the range of the types of arts that you will be getting as a result as well. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think, I was just, while you were talking, I was just thinking that, I mean, how many people actually think what's the impact of minting the NFT? I mean, we do think about it, but more like from the gas fees perspective, right? Not really from the perspective of what's the impact that we have on the climate or, the energy consumption or whatever it is. Like, I don't think that topic has been talked a lot about, apart from the mass media and the whole kind of, generic statements about the fact that it's bad for the environment and kind of not really, I think, not doing the job that well by being so high level and putting everything in one bucket, like the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrencies in general, the NFTs all together, just saying it's bad. But yeah, I think it's an important topic, and it's not everyone is just very often like we don't think about it because we're I mean, it's just not something we discuss between ourselves as well, right? So we can kind of genuinely just forget about it. Not that we want to avoid it on purpose, but simply it's not something that has been talked enough for us to have it in our subconscious, I guess.
Yeah, because even the artists who minted their artwork, either established artists or somebody who was just trying this new technology, were not aware of the impact. Nobody was talking about it 6 months ago, right? This conversation on sustainability is very, very recent. And already even Bitcoin blockchain is everybody who is doing business around Bitcoin blockchain are taking action to decarbonize it, to use sustainable energy resources to power mining process. And there is, I mean, this is the reason why I like so much the crypto space, because we discover things fast and we try to fix them as fast as possible as well. So every day you have news, if yesterday you were super polluting the environment, today everybody's already working on energy efficient and sustainable clean solutions for the space.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I think the other beauty of the whole thing is that, because everything is just starting and, many things haven't discovered yet, we all are still experimenting, different, startup ideas emerge, different projects come out, different blockchains are going to support NFTs are emerging as well, and platforms are being built. The whole beauty is that we're discovering new things and new ways to optimize and make things more efficient. So, but the full thing, the interesting thing to me is that, to be completely honest, I have a feeling that many people came to the space as a result of the hype, and main motivation being to make money fast, right? And some of them, or even probably, at least half of them, that's kind of, my personal impression, actually stayed in the space, not for the money, because like not many actually made money so fast, or, that expectations by which they were coming in didn't really happen. Not many artists had high success or sold for big amounts their first art anyway, but many stuck around. They didn't just leave, right? They're still around. So what do you think is the most attractive, I mean, apart from the money side of things, like what is the beauty for the crypto artists? What is the most attractive side of the NFTs, not from the technological perspective, but in terms of what the benefits it gives to the regular crypto artist?
I would say there are two things. Community comes first, because I'm sure that a lot of people who dived into even digital artists who didn't know much about crypto, but once they discovered crypto community, blockchain community, and the level of conversations, the interesting people that you find in this space, you know, in marketing, in business, developers, like philosophers, poets, you know, you really find everybody from every perspective, angle, people doing amazing things. And it's like everyone who I talk to, once you step into that rabbit hole of crypto space, you never leave, because you find really brilliant minds, a lot of inspiration. It's fast-paced environment, innovative, conversations are always engaging, people are inclusive, and the communities are inclusive. And this is what I found myself in Polkadot. You know, I just stepped in because I was curious, like, okay, what's going on here with this Web3 new technology? And then that's it. You know, once you start, it's impossible to stop, because you meet someone, you brainstorm, you find a project, you find another project, you always find something. Like it's just endless. The opportunities are endless. This tech is so new that it's a history in the making. Just like people who created web, the internet, emails, you know, websites, the same thing is happening now with Web3. There are people building the foundation of the new internet. Call it the metaverse. I don't know how we're going to end up calling this. For the time being, everybody is excited with the concept of the metaverse, but it could be anything. In a year, in 5 years, we'll discover ourselves in a completely different world, in a completely different environment. And another thing is you discover the power that you have as an individual in the new decentralized economy, because you have your wallet, you have your ownership rights, and you can do what you want. You can express yourself artistically, you can find your audience, and it's a new market. And actually, the great thing about this hype around NFTs was exactly all the PR and marketing and all the press around this space, because it brought in, obviously, money to support new platforms, but also a lot of people just curious. Okay, what is this about? What's going on? And once you find this space, like before it was blogging, a lot of people were doing blogs, then it moved to YouTube. People began doing videos because there was an audience, there was a new market, there was a new audience, people curious of, okay, how do you do it? And then, you know, you start watching a blogger on YouTube, and then you're like, but I can actually do that myself too. Let me try, you know, and then you take your phone and you start filming and you start talking about things that interest you, and you find your audience. The same thing happens with NFT. You now discover that what I'm discovering is that a lot of people discovered what Telegram and Discord is. Before crypto, these two channels, they were not popular, they were non-existent, especially for the artists.
Discord was popular for mainly gamers, right? It was kind of, you know, it was more specific for gamers. Telegram was more specific to crypto people, and now it's, true. I'm very excited. I really love the fact that it's kind of, you know, obviously we had like a non-blockchain based kind of creators economy. We had platforms like Patreon and, you know, some others which were kind of Substack, which are helping creators economy and kind of, you know, helping people monetize their passions. But here I think it's a completely different level, because you no longer, you know, depend on an intermediary centralized platform. So it's all under your own control. It's, you know, it belongs to you. There is a direct link and direct relationship with your audience, with your collectors, and I think it's beautiful. In terms of the metaverse, I feel like once the metaverse develops even further, there are so many possibilities and opportunities for experience-based NFTs, where, you know, people can sort of, you know, come up with different NFTs which would give you access to certain experiences in the metaverse, which would give you access for certain sort of direct engagement with the artist, etc. And I think it's super beautiful because, you know, first of all, it enables everyone all over the world to participate in the ecosystem, because before, like, you know, let's say if you're a musician and you're having a concert, obviously, like, most probably just people who can travel to that city or who are in that city can come and experience the concert. Now I feel like, you know, it doesn't really matter. People in remote areas, people who kind of, you know, all you need to have is internet, and you can be part of the whole thing. So I think it's also including people who are not creators, but, you know, consumers of the content and of the art, who start getting direct access to it. They don't have to go to the galleries. They don't have to go to the concerts. They can just directly kind of get access and discover different people. The other thing that I think is really good is diversity, because when I'm looking at people in the crypto arts that are popular, and tell me if you have the same experience, I'm looking at things and I'm like, oh my God, like, there's no way any agent or any gallery would showcase them. This is so uncommercial, so kind of out of the standard stuff, out of what is, you know, considered to be like art, or considered to be like something that is worth showcasing, right? So we have all these diverse, interesting voices that come in, interesting images, interesting art that otherwise had absolutely no chance breaking through.
Yeah, I agree, because also the barrier to entry is low. Just like, you know, again, going back to YouTube. Before, you film a video with a cell phone, low quality, but maybe you are an amazing singer, so you sing extremely well, and people will go and watch that video and put likes and share. But then, like, the more people join, the harder it became to stand out. So you had to already have a professional camera, professional microphone, and then you will see hateful comments like, couldn't you fix your sound? Why are you, why are you filming with your phone? So now the same thing is happening in this space. Everybody's welcome. And not so many people discovered it. So pioneers, real innovators, real provocative people who want to provoke feelings. Either it's greed, which is the driving force of this space at the moment, but it is still, it's not an easy to understand space. It's not an easy to access space still. So we're seeing a lot of interesting things. And I'm very excited when people, like during this Digital Art for Climate initiative, we had a designathon for UX and UI designers to create a front end of the marketplace. And we had a team, there was someone from Nigeria, there was a team from India. So it's really very, very inclusive. Nobody will tell you, you have to be based in the capital and you had to have 2 years of experience working in this institution and, working in this and that gallery, because this is another thing that happens most often than not, that to be credible, to call yourself an artist, you need to have a formal education, you need to belong to an association, and the barrier to entry is super, super high. And you may give up just by looking at the requirements. So, okay, you're born, you're young, you're a teenager, and you're choosing your future profession, and you're talented in painting. Then you go Google, okay, how do I become a famous painter? You read all these horrifying stories of, and then, okay, I need to now travel all the way to London, get a degree in the Academy of Fine Arts, then have 2 years of internship, and then, you need to spend so much money, and you have to be so patient, and then there is no guarantee that some of your teachers will not just kill your talent, because this is what happens. I come from academia. I studied in the Academy of Architecture and Arts. And I know how often you just have to fit into academia standards, because you are supposed to submit a work according to your course program, and you have to draw in a particular way, you have to paint in a particular way, and you have not really enough freedom. So if you want to, maybe you are born to invent the new painting style, but you cannot, because you are thinking, about making a living, building a career, and then you end up nowhere because after all this 7, 8, whatever years of education, you just give up. You say, you know what, this world is unfair. I can't stand it. I lost my passion. I lost my interest. Now I go and work in a bank, something like that. And that happens more often than not. More often than not, because a lot of
unfortunately,
people...
yes. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And you know, I'm speaking to different artists who actually tell, you know, who have been freelancing, and selling their skills to clients, right? And this entering this space is just like fresh air for them, because what they discover is like now finally they can do what they like. They can be themselves. They can kind of, you know, demonstrate their own thoughts and emotions and expressions, and they no longer have to, you know, to create based on the brief that they are getting from a client. So it's another kind of, you know, way where they can open up and just be themselves and do what they like to do versus what they are required to, or, you know, what is paying the bills, right? So it's another dimension where, again, I mean, maybe they are discovering a new style, or maybe they are, you know, it just gives you the freedom to experiment and find new ways of the things that you might end up diving into further down the road in the future. So
that's why I wouldn't even criticize collectibles this much, because, you know, who knows what is going to come out of that collectible space and all the monkeys and ape worlds.
No. I mean, like that. I think we weren't criticizing. We were just saying that those two are kind of, you know, it seemed like they are two different branches within the field. So, you know, all I'm saying is that it's very hard, and we shouldn't maybe compare like one-on-one crypto art with the collectibles, because they represent two completely different things. That's kind of the way we looked at it. The other aspect, I think, also is that in the traditional world, also, like, you obviously, when you have connections, it helps a lot. And, you know, there's loads of things that are based on connections. And I have a feeling that in this space, building those connections and building relationships and becoming part of a community is so much easier. And it happens so much faster, rather than in the traditional world where you kind of, you know, you have to be introduced. It's a little bit kind of, you know, there are loads of gatekeepers. There are lots of people who kind of, you know, you have to pass through and things like that, which is another element that kind of helps a lot. I don't know, what do you think about that?
I quite agree with that, because I guess the whole spirit of the crypto space is to eliminate the middlemen, is to eliminate all these barriers to becoming who you truly want to become, and to access new economy, build wealth, and connect with like-minded people. Because the whole drive of the community is to connect with like-minded people. And as I always say, like, can you imagine going to your local bank and talking to the CEO of a bank? Now, can you imagine going to a DeFi protocol founder and talking to him? That is possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the other thing is, like, when we talk about like-minded people, it's not very often when an artist in his real life among his friends or family does have that support system, does have like-minded people who actually get you. Because, you know, unless they've gone through the same experiences, unless they are artists as well, it's very hard to even explain some stuff to people who don't get it, right? Who are not from the field, who don't really understand. So, I mean, I'm talking just about art, let alone adding up a layer on top of it and explaining NFTs, right? So I feel like that is why the connections and relationships are built much faster, because you finally find people who get you, find people who are on the same wave and kind of, you know, on the same mindset at the moment, probably.
I also think there is a mutual interest, because traditional industries are really keen to learn about crypto.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to, you know, so how do you tokenize real estate? What is a token? How do you create token? What is NFT? So it's a good start for a conversation, because people are, the world is split in two right now. I talk to a lot of people who run businesses and who are aware of a lot of things, circular economy, but then they tell me, you know, like blockchain doesn't exist. It doesn't really work. And then you send them an article that, oh, your local bank just, use blockchain for their internal like ledger, hyperledger for their internal systems. And people are surprised because it's not really still in the mass media. It's not popularized, and often it's demonized. Bitcoin is bad, don't invest, crypto regulations, etc., etc. And I think NFT is a friendly way to explain people that it's not just about money, it's not just about tokens. It is about digital economy. It is about new ways of presenting things, and it's a legal framework in a way, because NFT is about ownership. The most powerful thing and the most important thing about NFT is that it's your unique digital asset, and you can exercise a bundle of rights on your property, because it becomes NFT becomes your property through the hash on a blockchain.
I think it's very important. You mentioned media, and I think yes, I mean, media has done. I mean, now it's much better than before, but in the very beginning, like, I remember the types of things that were like when I started working in the blockchain space, like. You wouldn't even want to publicize it so much, because like the first stereotype that they were getting was like, okay, you're doing something illegal, obviously. Like if you're in that, it's just definitely something dodgy is going on there. That was kind of what the image that they had, right? Like Bitcoin is just for drugs and weapons, and cryptocurrencies for avoiding taxes, and all these different stories which they've got because they read it in media, right? And I feel like the problem is that yes, now the media is relatively more friendly, but the problem is also that many people who cover those stories don't completely understand what they are writing about. So the stories are just the straightforward things that is very obvious at a higher level. Like, when they talk about, I don't know, Beeple and Christie's and 69 million, that's what they talk about because that's the obvious layer, right? They don't talk about what it actually means, and they don't go really deeper into that, right? So eventually, by telling just part of the story, they just eventually ended up focusing on the money side, because that was pretty impressive and hard to miss. But there are loads of important stories that they are not covering, and I don't know why, whether it's just because they don't grasp it and they are not inside the field to actually experience it and understand it better, and they're just looking it from outside and just getting just part of it, or I just don't know. But I feel like the people from the outside will have the real picture once they get a better resources and better stories that resonate with them, telling the real kind of things that are happening, all these amazing stories and things that are happening inside the community.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, Ani. And this is one of the reasons why a podcast like yours is so important, because education and, let's say, edutainment is so important, and showing people behind projects is very important, because a protocol has no face. Bitcoin has no face, and the story of mysterious Satoshi, etc., it's very nice and romantic, but actually we're missing that there are a lot of people building real things, really useful things, really helpful things, tools for everybody. And yes, it is still quite complex and complicated, but the big idea is to give these tools to everybody, to enable people to access this pool of money, pool of opportunities, pool of talent. And this is the major ideology behind the crypto movement. It's not about, dark web or coding. It's not that. It is talent, it is new world that we live in and new tools that we use for everyday life. It's about freeing yourself from needing to go to the office, doing 9 to 5, not being able to access education, because big part that I also love about crypto community, there are a lot of courses and materials available about blockchain for free.
Yes.
You don't need to pay for that. You don't need to pay for your master degree on blockchain. You can learn
and you
it
don't
yourself.
even have to you don't have to have a degree. Like, if you have the knowledge and the practical kind of, skill set, and you've done something, maybe it's even more valuable than having the theoretical degree, right? It's things move so fast that I think like we learn as we go, and we just keep experimenting and putting our knowledge into work, and see how it rolls out. So it's just, I don't know, I think by the time the syllables are being created, by the time people start teaching things about blockchain in the universities, things are developing so much further that you're just getting a small portion of what's out there. It's just impossible to catch up so fast, right? With the pace of the traditional educational systems, the way they go.
Yeah, like I'm not against degrees. This is an important point, because I'm very grateful to my education and to my architectural school for all these 5 years of really, really hard, torturing work. But education gives you fundamentals. It gives you perspective. It gives you understanding of some important things. But it doesn't give you opportunity, and it doesn't guarantee the job. And it's very, very kind of detached from the economy and from the employment opportunities. So if you kind of do, when you're a student, you actually have a lot of free time. And this is a great place to start, because the problem is also, where do I start? How do you start in a normal economy? Say you want to be an artist, going back to the art world. If you want to learn how the industry works, you most likely need to, you decide, I'm going for a degree. You decide on that. But then you need to find a place where you can learn what it means to be an artist in practice. You will have to find a studio, or you will have to find a practicing artist in your city, if you're lucky to be in a city, if you're lucky to be in a big enough city, and see if that actually works for you. Because oftentimes you also discover that maybe you want to have another profession, because it just like, education can be one thing, it can inspire you and can give you satisfaction, but then when you enter the work world, it may be very disappointing. For example, like for architects, because when you study, you are the god of your own creation. You create everything from zero to the completion of the project, but it's all on paper. You create your theoretical world, and you're taught that you are the Renaissance man, that you're powerful, you can do everything yourself. When you join work, you start from the very low level of drawing bathrooms in AutoCAD, and that has nothing to do with creativity. And that's why it kind of doesn't work, because yes, you got all your fundamentals, you had to study mathematics and philosophy, and that's fantastic for your brain and your general development as a human being, but it didn't help you to get practical skills. And what is great about all these Discord channels and all these courses and all these master classes and podcasts and workshops and hackathons are fantastic. You can get your hands on doing actually something very practical, meeting developers. For instance, I took part in a hackathon, not having any development experience, but you can brainstorm on user experience maps, you can see repositories, you take part, and then you get to, I don't know, do a sales pitch, create a presentation, create a concept around it, but you are still a part of it, and that's a practical experience. And the important thing of this is that you can do it virtually. You don't need to leave your home, so you can live anywhere, and you can connect with great developers, with great teams, and people who can teach you in those 3 days, 2 weeks, as much time as you take for completing the hackathon. You can learn amazing things. You can have practice. You could have a hands-on experience, and you can do as many of those as you want. You can go for a hackathon a weekend. So imagine in a year time how tech savvy you become, because you have an actual experience of building things.
It's really, really valuable. And the access to all the resources, the access to all these virtual events, and to different people, and having the opportunity to sort of to be part of a team where you can sort of combine your strengths and brainstorm ideas, and actually as a result build something that didn't exist without you, right? So I think it's very, very empowering. if we have to wrap up the conversation, I know that we sort of focused on mainly on the art side of things, but you briefly mentioned in the very beginning that there are so many other areas that NFTs are have very useful and valuable applications. So what would you say is, apart from the art, which are the areas that are going to be very exciting to see in the near future being developed and applied by startups and their users in the future?
Well, second big one is, of course, gaming, and there's already a lot going on. And again, where there is investment and attention, there's more opportunities naturally. But I see music is very, very promising industry, because ownership of your digital music and files and relations with platforms that play music has always been a big problem in the art industry. And now, if you can really track all your sales, set up your royalties, set up the terms and conditions under which you want your music to be distributed on the internet, that can revolutionize the music industry. But still, the conversation is just starting. And we've seen some airdrops, but I haven't seen really new music type, like, I don't know, techno, right? Used kind of digitized music. So maybe something like that will emerge from the space. And we have not seen anything in literature and blogging and books, which is another, like, tokenizing tweets is fun, but probably we can do
there
something
is actually
more.
a platform called Publica. I don't know if you've heard of it. I've minted my first novel almost 3 years ago on their platform as an NFT. Back in those days, we didn't even call them NFT. We were just saying publishing on blockchain, which is kind of what it was. But yeah, there are a few platforms related to publishing and to kind of literature. Unfortunately, it's not like really well known or really big or whatever. But yeah, I mean, technically speaking, it's there. It's just not very popular at the moment. And I don't know what the reason is behind it, but maybe it's just, it will take time until some new ones emerge as well, probably.
Well, it's again, like Kindle. We now can read books digitally on Amazon or Kindle. So I guess just the industry has to discover, the writers have to discover their way in the space and how they can utilize the new tools the best way possible for them. It's just not very straightforward. And also, again, because of all the limitations of current space, Ethereum, gas fees, general lack of education that it exists and that is possible. Also, we still haven't seen fiat on ramp implementation on crypto marketplaces. And once we will be able to pay with a credit card, that will really open new opportunities, because more people who just buy on Amazon or on other marketplaces with their credit card, they'll be more secure and they'll be more comfortable doing these purchases, because they don't have to go to exchange, buy crypto, bring it to the platform, and then maybe they need to buy Ethereum, and then they need to swap it to the token of that platform. It's a nightmare.
No, I think as soon as the first ever message on the NFT marketplace is not connect your MetaMask, we're going to be way better. Like, as soon as we just bypass that stage and you can do something else instead of connecting MetaMask before even being able to do anything around there, that's where things will start getting more interesting and more attractive to people who are a bit, I mean, we have to be aware that there is a certain bias and there is a certain fear among the mass market towards cryptocurrencies. So, just expecting that they will get educated and they will get used to it and they will come is not the way to do it. We have to find ways to feed to their lifestyle and to make it easy and to do things that they are used to do in their everyday lives and just, you know, have the whole thing under the hood. So it's not so scary to experiment, to try, because, you know, if just to try it out and figure things out, to find out whether it's interesting for me at all, I have to go and learn what is MetaMask and open a MetaMask and then, you know, connect it to the whole thing and figure out where to buy ETH. And then, you know, where you can't buy ETH with fiat through MetaMask. So it means that I also have to open an account in an exchange, centralized exchange, probably, because DeFi is even more complicated. So it's like there are so many loops. So to expect that regular people who are simply a little bit curious would go over the whole thing just to see what it is, it's just not realistic. So, you know, many people say that the way through it is through education, but let's be honest, like an average Joe, would he prefer to watch Netflix for an hour if he has 1 hour free, or to watch a YouTube video that explains what is MetaMask and how to connect it to OpenSea? I mean, you know,
the choice is obvious for the majority. Yeah, as I always say, let's bring the best Web2 experience into Web3. There is no reason why not.
Exactly. And maybe those hackathons and those brainstormings and putting together non-technical people with technical people and mash up their strengths is the way to go. And the more of these happen, the faster we will get to a stage where we will have like a really user-friendly interface and UX and kind of, you know, things that would be intuitive and easy to use. And then we will get to that stage. It will take a while to figure things out because, again, like, it's new technology. But I believe it's going to come, and it's going to come probably much faster than we think. And eventually Metaverse will be where we will be having these podcasts later on in the future, right? So there are already loads of platforms that we can test out, I think, so we can eventually move this to the Metaverse.
Absolutely. And maybe try some cool digital clothes as well.
Exactly. Then we will talk about the NFTs for fashion, and then, you know, we will have a branded NFT merchandise for people to dress up to go to the Metaverse, and, you know, branded headquarters for the studio. And I mean, it's just, you know, the possibilities are endless. Once you get into there, it's just no way out. So yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate the conversation. We have scheduled Twitter Spaces right after this. So whoever is watching and whoever would like to join us and ask your own questions to Irina and have conversations and kind of, you know, a follow-up after party for the NFT Rebels, everyone is welcome. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and we'll just smoothly move to Twitter Spaces.
Thank you, Annie, and see you all in Twitter Spaces in a minute.
Okay, take care, everyone. Bye.